Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to today's vlog for Thursday, 30th of April. Hope everybody is well. Not too much to report on today. I'm just going to touch on though a subject, and I am no expert on this. Not an expert on an awful lot, but definitely not on this. Making tax digital. I'm sure we've seen all the ads over the last 18 months, 2 years regarding this. My tax year, like most people's, goes from the 5th of April to the 4th of April. The year that's just finished, I didn't fall within the parameters, i.e. I don't earn over, I think it's 50,000. So I do what I have done now for about the last 10 or 12 years, and I just completed my tax return online myself. Prior to that, so the last, if you like, 18 years or so of being a cab driver, I had an accountant. But the accountants became more and more expensive. I think the last time I used an accountant, they wanted over £400 a year. And I'm very good with paperwork. I keep on top of all my paperwork. I keep on top of all my figures. So when I used to go to the accountant, I was able to give him a breakdown of everything that he needed, which he basically just tapped into the computer, pressed a couple of buttons, and then told me what my tax liability was. So I thought, as I say, quite a few years ago, when it all became online and you could do it yourself, I'm going to do it myself. And it was fairly straightforward, to be honest. Once I understood one or two things about, especially when you've purchased vehicles, it was all very straightforward. So I've been doing it myself now for probably about 10 years or so. But making tax digital is coming in. So when I did my tax return on, and I do it straight away, so I did it on the 6th of April this year, I then set up myself for this. Now, my day-to-day accounting, I use Sage Accounting. It cost me £18 plus VAT every month. It was a simple software to download. I'm sure there's lots of other, I think QuickBooks, and there's loads of these type of things, and I'm sure you all use them. But for anyone that doesn't, you have a sales section. So every job I do, I type in now the shipper, and I type in now the price of the job, £80, and then the VAT added automatically, £16 at total 96. That's about as far as I go on sales. And then obviously with expenditure, you do exactly the same thing. This time it's a supplier, and you put the price in. Now I use that for VAT at the end of each 3 months. Again, you just create a VAT, the system automatically works out which 3 months it's for, and again you press a button, and providing you've entered all your details in correctly and amounts in correctly, you'll get your VAT liability to be paid, which I actually pay about 3 weeks later. Now, as I say, with figures, I also run alongside the computer system. I run my own books, good old paper and pen. I'm old school, and I like to write everything down. So before I actually press that button on the VAT submission, I've got a pretty good idea what my VAT liability is going to be. And apart from a few pennies here and there where things have been rounded up or rounded down, it comes out the same. So it works for me. Now, making tax digital is exactly the same process. I'm trying to think now what I did. I didn't do an awful lot, but I basically had to link up my bank account with the system, and now I have to submit a tax return also every 3 months. So my first one will be due on, well, the 6th of July. Is that right? Yeah, July. And again, I guess it's going to be a simple process. My philosophy with HMRC is very simple. Many years ago, probably 20 odd years ago, I got called out for a inspection by HMRC when I was a taxi driver. My accountant came with me, and that was all free of charge. That was part of the service that he used to pay for. So at that time I was glad of it. as I say, I keep all my figures and all my books and my paperwork and receipts are really on top of that. And they went through everything, all my bank statements, with a fine-tooth comb. Questions like how many times we were on holiday in that particular year, and I'd been away once. They could press a button and it tells you how many times your passport's been used. There's all sorts of little things they try to catch you out on. At the time, back in the day, Nectar, which you get through, I think it was BP then, I think it might still be BP, but anyway, you had your points printed on your receipt, and one of the receipts had X amount of points and the next day's receipt had another amount of points. And that's the only thing they could find, that they tried to query the fact that I must have bought some diesel between those two dates, and therefore I'd earned X amount of money. Luckily I was able to prove that I had two Nectar cards. I'd lost one, got another one, and then found the original one, so I was actually lucky enough able to prove that wasn't the case, what they were saying. So I got a clean bill of health, and the only bit of advice the taxman gave to me afterwards, he said, I doubt you're going to be called out for an inspection for a very long time, but just make sure that you pay your tax on time and the figures are accurate. If you do that, you'll be fine. And that's the way I've worked ever since. Changes in the law over the last few years, and I've mentioned this before, the Courier Exchange now has a legal obligation to inform the HMRC exactly what you've earned through their app. This is the same now for private hire like Uber, or taxi, private hire, Uber, Bolt, the food delivery apps, Uber Eats and Deliveroo and all those people. And CX will also have the same, because they are a supplier of work. They will have to tell HMRC exactly what you earn. So again, press of a button, the figures that CX give to them must tally with what you've given to the HMRC. If you don't, you will have a world of problems at some stage coming down the track, and you will be liable for fines and you'll be liable for interest that's not been paid. So making tax digital, it was a fairly simple thing to do. I don't think there'll be many problems. Well, again, I think the computer is going to do it all for you. So providing everything's entered into the computer, it should be very, very straightforward. But I am no expert, so have a look into it yourself. If you still think you need an accountant and that's money well spent, you do that. I've only got two sources of income now. I've got my private pension, which basically takes up my taxable free limit every year. So really then the only thing I have to worry about is what I earn through doing the CX. I don't have second properties which I rent out. I don't have loads of stocks and shares that are making me money. I do have interest on savings, but again, that's minimal and that's fairly straightforward to put into the system. Right, on to today. I'm trying to think where I left you yesterday. I was doing that job from Maidstone back up to Chelmsford. That went fine. I went home after that. There wasn't anything about. I had the doctors this morning. That was wonderful. So I didn't book any work because I didn't know A, what time I was going to get out, and B, how I was going to be feeling. Let's leave it at that. But it was all fine. I came out there 9 o'clock, started my making my way towards Colchester. Got a job fairly quickly, about 9:15, and that was from Ipswich going to Grays in Essex. I had about 35 minutes to get there, but the shipper was fine with that. It was a medium wheelbase job, 63 miles, and I put a price of £80 on it. It is a job I've done before, so as soon as the details came through, I recognised the collection point and also recognised the delivery point. On site at 9:45, the guys loaded it all up. It was 43 packages, but they did all the work. Off site at 10 o'clock, and I was at the delivery point 11:20, off site 11:35. I went round, I was starving. I felt really hungry for some reason, and needed some food. I also needed to get some diesel, so I went round, filled up with diesel, went and got some food and parked up looking for another job. There wasn't a lot. It seemed quiet. I mean, again, it's the same old conversation I keep having. I'm not getting anything within 30 minutes of where I am, or if I do, they're either motorcycle jobs or car jobs, and there was lots of car jobs around. I don't bid on them unless they are taking me back to where I live, in which case I don't mind putting a cheaper price on it. Nothing was going to happen around 1 o'clock, half one. We always had that little quiet period, so I was quite happy to give it till sort of 2 o'clock, 2:30, and see if anything came up. There was a couple of jobs into London. There was one job up to Milton Keynes, but I'm just going to go there for almost £1 a mile with no hope of getting anything back, probably at sort of 3, 4 o'clock. So I left those ones alone. However, I did get a job. I got one just after 2 o'clock, and it's all right. It's from Dartford. I was about 25-30 minutes away from that because I've got to come over the Dartford Bridge. And that's going to Frinton-on-Sea. Frinton is 20 minutes from where I live. It's the town just after Clacton on the coast. So it's a perfect job for me. It was a small wheelbase job, 71 miles. I quoted £70. It's an area where you're not going to want to go to. You're not going to get any work out of Frinton. There's very, very little comes out of Frinton. You're going to have to make your way all the way back into Colchester. And even then, that time of day, tell me about it, there won't be a lot of work about, apart from one job that goes from the hospital to Harrow every day. But hospital jobs I don't do, and they're an absolute ball ache in my eyes. So £70 for that. I've obviously got to pay the tunnel going over there. I've picked the goods up. I'm just making my way back. As you can see from the video, I'm not going anywhere because I'm at that wonderful roundabout, which is on the south side of the Dartford Tunnel, which is clogged up virtually all day, every day. It's an impossible roundabout to try and get round, because as you do go round it, it's 2 lanes and it filters down to 1 lane, and you arrive at the inside lane to the tunnel, which gets stopped every 20 minutes to allow all the hazardous goods vehicles through. So it's a bit of a slow process. Anyway, so that's going to be it for today. £80 and £70, so £150. Bearing in mind the late start, I'm quite happy with that. And again, stress-free day. Not done a lot of miles. Less is more. That is my mantra now these days. Seems to be working. Yeah, it's great to turn around and say I've earned £300, but if you've done 70-80 quid in diesel and you've been out of the house for 14 hours, yeah, I'm not sure you're getting much more benefit. Tomorrow, Friday, the wife is working from home tomorrow. Unless there's a great job comes up, I think I'm going to have a day off. At my age, I feeling a bit tired this week. Busy weekend last weekend. It's bank holiday weekend. I do find Fridays a little bit hit and miss, to be honest. I say if there's a really good job comes up, something like Colchester to somewhere and return, or something I can get a very, very good price on, I'll do it. But I think other than that, day off. It is the end of the month. I can do all my accounts and get that done. The van needs to clean inside and out. The car needs to clean inside and out. The sun's going to be shining, so it's a perfect day just to sit in the garden and relax. Anyway, that's going to be it. So if you don't see a video tomorrow afternoon, then you know I have had a day off. If I do something exciting, I'll come back and let you know. But I think the likelihood is now it's going to be Monday. Oh no, sorry, Tuesday, because Monday's a bank holiday. Tuesday. So if I don't, have a lovely weekend all. I hope you're getting some rest in as well yourselves, and we'll talk again next week. All the best. Cheers, Paul.